Welcome to 2 Hours No Traffic, a New York, Philadelphia sports podcast. I'm your host, Spen Harris, and Philly Brandon, he's out for this episode. He's moving. He had to take the week off. We wish him well. He should be back.
Take the weed off, Philly Brandon.
He's got to take that weed off, man. We wish him well. He should be back next week. In his place, we have Boston Cliff, my good friend Cliff, my cousin from Boston. So I changed the title of this episode to 4 Hours Some Traffic, because that's essentially how long it takes to get from the tri-state area to Boston. Cliff, how the heck are you, man?
Not doing too bad. First off, like I say Boston Cliff. I'm a little outside Boston, North Boston. Anyone who actually is, from around here, they'll let you know the difference. You know what I'm saying? If you're not from Boston, you shouldn't be saying you're from Boston.
Okay, what's the town you're from?
Grew up in Woburn, nice wholesome town. About 15 minutes north. Now currently reside in Medford. A little outside the city. But
for the audience's sake, we're going to call you Boston Cliff in this episode. But everyone acknowledge he's not from Boston, nor does he live in Boston.
Let the record show.
All right, so we're going to start off with a little baseball action. MLB offseason has got off to a hot start after weeks of speculation that Aaron Judge was going to maybe sign elsewhere and the Yankees weren't going to shell out the dough. They basically they bent the knee and they said, Aaron, we're going to give you a ridiculously lucrative deal, 9 years, $360 million. I heard something from a media source that it was 70% more than the Yankees initially wanted to offer him. So at the end of the day, he won that battle. They didn't want to lose their guy. He gets the big deal. What are your thoughts on the Yankees shelling out this kind of dough to Aaron Judge?
I mean, being a Sox fan, or at least a Sox watcher, forget the ownership group until they pay Xander and Devers. But I'm happy to see Yankees pay Judge just simply because he's not that good. He's overrated. As I don't know if you saw the reports earlier, the studies have shown that there were, in fact, juice balls this past season, predominantly in the bigger games, the primetime games, playoffs, and also randomly Yankees games. So that's weird. So the Yankees pretty much overpaying for a guy who has inflated stats, who has never done anything in the postseason, which Yankee fans will tell you, considering they were booing him last playoffs. So, keep him in division. What do I care? New York, baby. Keep playing it, Aaron. Love to hear it.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you more on the reason, but I agree that it's a great signing. Look, did you pay a lot more than you probably should have paid for Aaron Judge? Absolutely. It doesn't matter. This guy's been the face of New York baseball for the last several years. He's coming off one of the most historic seasons of all time, and you reward a guy after he plays a season of baseball like he did last season. Have the Yankees come up short in the playoffs year after year after year? They have.
Yes, they have.
Is that on Aaron Judge? No, that's on Brian Cashman for not putting the right pieces around Aaron Judge to win the big games when they need it. They're working on their pitching staff. I saw they were eyeing someone. I think his name is Rogan. Carlos Rodon is a guy that the Yankees are definitely looking into to add to the pitching staff. So, look, I like the signing. He's going to be the face of New York baseball for the next few years, maybe 9 years. I don't know if he's going to be there for that long. But shout out to Brian Cashman. The Yanks got their guy. And, yeah, just another day as a New York Yankees fan.
100%. And as you said, it's definitely not Aaron Judge's fault for them sucking in the playoffs. No. Not to mention they were on pace for a historic season this year and completely fell apart and collapsed. And not to mention Aaron Judge batted .211 batting average, 36 hits, 13 homers, 25 RBIs, and 44 games in the postseason. So let's put it this way. Daisuke Matsuzaka, we'll get on to some international sightings later. But Daisuke Matsuzaka, Red Sox legend, has more World Series hits and RBIs than Aaron Judge does have and probably will ever have. So, I mean, again, you're paying $360 million for that. Keep doing you, Brian Cashman. Appreciate your work. Can't wait. 27 championships, only one in the past 30 years. What? So close to that. Less than that, but close to it.
Yeah, that was a cool stat that you put out there, and you can't argue with stats. The one thing I was going to ask you about Aaron Judge, do you think that real judges whose job it is to be a judge in a courtroom, do you think they're offended when people say all rise to Aaron Judge? Because he's not a real judge.
He's not a real judge, but are a lot of judges actually real judges?
Wow. Now you're getting deep on me. Listen, when you bring Boston Cliff on to 2 hours, no traffic, he's going to get deep on you. He's going to put you deep in the hole, and you're just going to have to find your way out of the hole he puts you in. So that was good. That was a good point. Let's move on to the other baseball team in New York. The New York Mets. They were not able to retain their guy, Jacob deGrom. The Mets, a Mets favorite among fans. Shout out to Toots McNulty. Went to college with Cliff and I. He's a huge deGrom guy. He decided to go elsewhere and take his talents to the Texas Rangers. So what did the New York Mets do? They went out and they signed 39-year-old Justin Verlander. Now listen, does Verlander have the most attractive spouse on the team? Maybe. That's debatable. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So I'm not going to go that far. What I will do is ask you, Pat, Cliff, whatever your name is. I think it's Cliff Pat. What do you think about this Justin Verlander signing and the Mets losing out on Jacob deGrom?
I kind of had a save face after, not being able to pull deGrom, not pulling Aaron Judge, big sign like that. Cohen has to spend money because he's been, talking himself up for the past couple of years now. So Verlander, it's been solid, still in his late age. I personally want to see him do well as a owner of a Justin Verlander autograph rookie card. I need it to go up. So keep going, Justin. Need to flip that. Daddy needs some new shoes. So I'm rooting for Justin in this case. But at the same time, I think it's kind of just, you're just trying to patch a hole. I think they lost Taijuan Walker today as well. So, Mets need to get together, get some pitching, figure it out. But again, they could be worse. Could be paying Aaron Judge $360 million.
Yeah, so the Mets announced the Verlander signing, and Steve Cohen said, Alex and I are delighted to welcome Justin, his wife Kate, and their daughter into our Mets family. We feel a deep connection with his drive to succeed, and we know Mets fans will love watching him pitch. So it sounds like Steve Cohen and Justin Verlander, they share a deep connection as far as succeeding in the I guess in baseball, but so far Verlander has been the one to succeed, and Steve Cohen has been the one to come up short.
And realistically, Verlander only succeeded with a cheating franchise, but that's neither here or there.
He's also almost 40, so he's getting up there in age. I guess it is what it is. If you're the New York Mets, he's a big name. I don't know. That's all. I don't have a lot else to say about that.
Neither do I.
Mets,
so let's keep moving then.
We'll keep moving. We'll move on to Philly Brandon's team, the Philadelphia Phillies, coming off a World Series appearance. They got their guy. They re-signed Trey Turner to big money, 11 years, $300 million for Trey Turner. This was a guy that Yankee fans thought they might pick up because they have been in desperate need of a shortstop ever since Didi Gregorius hasn't been on the squad. What do you think of the Trey Turner big money to Philly? Back to Philly.
My biggest thing about it is that the way it affects me is that it means they're not signing Xander Bogaerts. So a little bit, better chance of Xander returning here. That's my biggest thing. I was worried Dombrowski would go out and just kind of make his point to go and sign his former shortstop, stick to his former club, improve the position for Philly, and kind of, prove again Dombrowski's willing to just do what he can to rack up some assets, go after a title. Doesn't matter how much you're paying. You're just going for it. That's what he pretty much did here. He got rid of a bunch of the farm system. We got one title. Maybe should have gotten another one, but so I think for him, I was surprised that he didn't go after Xander out of spite. I think Trey Turner, again, overpaid for him a little bit, but that's the market just so inflated right now, so not surprised there as well. But I think that Philly's definitely, they should be, I say this thinking Philly should be contender as they were this year, but then again, they were a wild card team that, kind of looked like trash a little over halfway through the season and ends up, making a run in the end. So I wouldn't buy too much into them, but they should definitely, again, be a playoff team. But I don't know if Trey Turner is necessarily the piece that puts you over the top.
Yeah, I think if you're Philly, this is a move you needed to make. He was a fan favorite. He played really well for them in the postseason. And also, I don't know what his walk up song is, but if I had to guess, I think it's got to be like Timmy Turner. He was reaching for a burner.
Name's
That
not
song,
Timmy
right?
though. His
Well, his
name's
name's Trey, but his
Timmy.
last name's Turner.
And his name's Trey.
All right, what do you want the song to be then? There's no song with Trey.
Why does the song have to be his last name?
I don't know. I think it'd be a good idea. Anyway,
Do you think he knows who
with,
the designer is? Like that song's like what, like 5 years old at this point now?
I don't know if it's 5 years old. It's got to be more than that.
Actually, they might even like maybe 4 years old. But
let's say
anyways.
Timmy Turner, designer. We're gonna figure out. This song came out 2016, so it was 6 years. Good song though.
Good song.
All right, the other story with Philadelphia, they drafted. I have this Noah Song in Rule 5 draft. He was the most intriguing pick at 11. He's a once promising starting pitcher who has spent 3 years in active military service. So first off, Noah Song, me and Boston Cliff, we thank you for your service. Originally, he was a 4th round draft pick by the Red Sox in 2019 when Philly's president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski, was in charge over there. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, where he mostly dominated, and then went to aviation school after only 7 professional starts. So this is a guy who gave up his baseball career temporarily to serve in the military. I have nothing but respect for a guy like that. Kudos to the Phillies for giving Noah Song a chance. And who knows, maybe he wind up being a great pitcher for them down the road.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Again, Noah, thank you for your service, sir. Besides that, I cannot tell you I've not watched much Noah Song tape. To be honest, it must be insulting for me to speak on his game when I have zero clue about his game.
Listen, I saw he served in the military, and I immediately gave the Phillies credit. I mean, it takes a lot to take a chance on a guy like that, but it also speaks volumes about a person's character when they're willing to give up millions of dollars for their country. So shout out to Noah Song. Both Boston Cliff and I are not familiar with your work, but we hope to be more familiar with your work in both, your baseball career and your military career down the road.
We're rooting for Noah. Big supporters. We support the troops here, so I'll keep an eye on them. Maybe I'll go buy a couple rookie cards tonight online. That should be one of those situations.
That's a wholesome moment right there. I like that. Boston Cliff. We're getting along. All right.
I'm not going to just say that I'm supporting Noah. I'm going to actually invest in his success.
There you go. And by the way, for those who don't know, all the audience out there, Boston Cliff collects a lot of baseball cards. He is a baseball card collector, if you will.
Not as much recently. That's how you lose all your monies. But again, I do have the Verlander card, so let's go, Justin.
Do you want to tell the audience if they're interested in selling, buying baseball cards, if they should reach out to 2 Hours No Traffic podcast, and we'll put them in touch with you?
No, I mean, cool if they want to. They're more welcome to. But
all right,
all right.
That was a ring.
Come here to peddle sports cards.
Sure, I'm trying to help you out.
Same.
Anyway, let's finally get to your Red Sox. They signed Masataka Yoshida to a 5-year deal. So Cliff, tell me about this guy. I don't know much about him. He's an outfielder. It's a 5-year, $90 million contract, adding the most productive bat in Japan over the last 2 seasons to a quickly retooling Boston Red Sox team. And if you want to know who called them a retooling team, Jeff Passan. This article is by Jeff Passan. Yoshida, 29 years old, locked in a deal with the Red Sox on the first day he was eligible to sign after the Orix Buffaloes, the reigning Japan Series champion, posted him. What do we think of the signing?
I think it's solid. No, I don't mind it. I think it's good signing. Again, it does kind of worry me where the fact that they might be hedging their bets with Sander, where, instead they're going to move Kike Hernandez to second, move Story over to short, and then backfill with Yoshida. So, another thing, he's a great contact here, it seems like, but his number as far as power-wise, I don't expect him to be a 20-plus home run hitter over here. Not too many guys' power translates as much, with Ohtani being the exception because he's a monster. But besides that, I think it'd be solid bat in the lineup, but I'd still like to see them do more. They signed Kenley Jansen, so I still think they might have overpaid for that one as well. Guy who notoriously hasn't had the best success in the postseason. It feels like they're almost trying to appease the fans by getting a big name, overpaying a little bit, and then same with the Yoshida deal where they're signing an unknown commodity, whereas there's a little bit more intrigue there than just signing, a guy, just a retread project, one of those guys that you already know about. I know they were interested in Mitch Haniger supposedly, things like that. So kind of trying to make up and hedge your bet. We're halfway in between both. So my priority right now is re-sign Xander, also go out there, maybe get another starting pitcher as well. They've added a little bit to the bullpen. I know they're looking to move some of the young arms up as far as Brian Bayo, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Houck, possibly all being in play for starting rotation spots next year. See if they possibly re-sign Evaldi. If he comes back at his own price, I wouldn't hate that. Chris Sale is made of glass, so I don't anticipate him really contributing too much. So they got a lot of work to do, but mostly right now it's just re-sign Xander, maybe get another starting pitcher, and we can kind of talk about, filling up the other spots as well. But
sounds like you're selling on Chris Sale.
I mean, would you buy Chris Sale right now? If some other team would buy Chris Sale, he would not be on the Red Sox right now.
That's fair.
This man fell off his bike and broke his body last year. And started out last year. I think he fractured his rib while pitching or something like that. It's just because he's like 6'3" or 6'4", 150 pounds, stick man. So, I appreciate Chris Sale as far as him going all and being all for the team, but you kind of get tired of hearing that same diatribe. But I gotta be better. It's like, dude, don't fall off your bike being 6.5 feet tall and going over your handlebars. Like when you're getting paid this money, like let's think about it for a little bit. So I don't expect them to give any real contribution. If they can try to get off him, I'd be fine with it, but we'll see what happens.
All right, there you go. We never really get the Boston perspective, but Cliff came on the show. I said we're talking Boston sports today. I think that Masataka Yoshida is going to be a fan favorite of the Red Sox. He just strikes me as a guy that is going to be fun to root for. Very low strikeout rate in Japan. Going to get a lot of big hits for you guys this year. I'm not looking forward to facing him as a Yankees fan.
As a Yankees fan, because you're a diehard Yankees fan, baby.
Yeah, I mean one of the biggest in the tri-state. All right, let's switch to a sport that it's the only sport that I play still, the NBA. Inside the NBA.
Yeah, you want to talk about Boston sports?
Let's start with the Boston Celtics. They played my Brooklyn Nets Sunday. Pretty tight game for the most part. You guys were leading most of the time. We'd make a few runs here and there. You guys pulled away in the fourth. I told you this on the phone after the game. I think that you guys are a well-oiled machine right now. All the parts of the machine are working. The leading parts are working. The roll parts are working. Everything in your machine is tuned in and working right now. And that's why you guys are the most efficient, best team in the NBA. I think you still have the best record in the NBA. And we'll get to the Nets in a second. But let's start with the Celtics. What do you like about this team so far?
We can get to the Nets now.
I mean, we can talk about the game. Here's my thing with the Nets. The chemistry is not there yet, where the Celtics have that trust in each other and that chemistry. The Nets don't have that. And the Nets are a work in progress. They have a few parts of the machine that need to be tightened, need to be fastened. They got to figure out what some parts of the machine are. Do they need to go out to an independent vendor and get more parts to the machine? That's the difference between the Nets and the Celtics. But I want to focus on your boys in green right now.
Well, on that note, I mean, like you mentioned, the Nets need to fix some things. Like they could probably use a backup big man, backup center. Like someone who's like a veteran, come in. Not every single night, but just a guy who can kind of come in there, spark off the bench, a little bit unconventional. Maybe like a Blake Griffin, similar to the Celtics having Blake Griffin. Like if the Nets could have Blake Griffin, that might help them suck less. But I know
you're being funny right now, but there was no way he was going to come back to the Nets after the Nets benched him down the stretch last year.
Why was that? Why would someone do that?
I don't know, because they wanted to just what was the deal last year? They played Drummond and Claxton down the stretch, who are essentially the same player. One's just a few years older than the other, and both those guys don't stretch the floor. They're both, I mean, Claxton's more athletic than Griffin is, but Drummond isn't. I think they kind of annoyed Blake Griffin, and he was of the mindset: if you guys aren't going to play me now, you're not going to play me next season. I probably want to play with another team, and I don't think that the Nets had any interest in bringing him back. Now, obviously, the Nets' biggest pain point is their front court. They have one center on the team in Nick Claxton. Markieff Morris and Day'Ron Sharpe round out the front court, but both those guys aren't legitimate centers in this league. Morris is a stretch 5 at best. He's really a 4, and Day'Ron Sharpe is too raw. So I don't think the Nets screwed themselves by not bringing back Blake Griffin, but a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who's still a free agent, a guy like Dwight Howard, you could bring in, who is in is he in Japan right now or China playing?
Taiwan, don't be racist.
I'm not being, you're right. I'm not being racist. I just want to make sure Dwight Howard's in Taiwan. I'm with you. But my point is that that's someone the Nets could have picked up. So why Sean Marks didn't address that need for another big man, I don't know. Maybe he thought Day'Ron Sharpe was going to be that guy, and if he did, that's a little misguided on his part. But kudos to you. You guys found a guy in Blake Griffin who still has something left to prove. He can be your 10th guy. You know, you have Robert Williams out for the first however many games of the season. Who's your starting? Oh, Horford's your starting center right now.
Yeah. And he's
Horford's so good.
Protocols. I mean, he hasn't played back-to-backs now. I can't expect him to, really. So as far as that goes, I think that I was worried a little bit about that with, you know, having Rob out, having Horford kind of restrictions this year. Graham Williams has been solid, but he can't be reliable, consistent 5. So the Blake Griffin signing has been kind of that revelation where, you know, I'm not surprised. Some other people might be, but they essentially don't play Blake Griffin at all. They don't insult him by playing him in garbage minutes. Like, Kornet's been even whatever for them. Like, Kornet's been solid. But Kornet can kind of go in that blend where when Horford starts, it's Kornet and maybe a little bit of Blake here and there. But there's other times where Blake doesn't play because you're not going to throw him in there for garbage time. You have a little bit more respect for Blake than that, as opposed to his previous organization he was with. So breaking him out, Horford can't play. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight, actually. They got a late night game against Phoenix. Horford's out, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if Blake will be starting again, if it'll be Kornet, if they'll go small with Grant. But yeah, it's just I think also Missoula as well has gone. He said, no, we're not going to be the same defensive team we were last year. So instead of trying to be those same guys, let's just kind of focus on the offense for now, and we'll outscore teams, 125 to 110. So that's
you got to answer a question for me, Cliff. Why do Boston fans love Sam Hauser?
I think it's because actually a point that I'll make about this is that they've had guys who should have helped them before. Prime example, Max Strus last year on the Heat, playing against them, was killing them at times. So Max Strus was on the Celtics back during Summer League. I believe he was either in G League, D League or not. But so they had Max Strus at one point. They've had other guys as well, PJ Dozier. They've let guys walk and who they've been going for let's look for a shooter, even drafting shooters. They've been trying to draft. They drafted James Young. They drafted RJ Hunter. Guys like that who they're trying to hope to be that young draft pick where come off 3 and D, but not even that much D. And finally, Hauser, undrafted free agent, crushed it at Virginia. And he has good size, too. He's one of those guys like fucking like a 6'8", 6'8" shooting guard pretty much. And it's like, all right, well, this guy, play forward also as well because of his size, but his defense isn't as bad. He's been able to pick it up this year so he can stay on the court. But yeah, people should like him because we've blown some draft picks where now that you see a guy who's undrafted come in and actually be a kind of sharpshooter you've been trying to find, you can trade for. It's nice to have that.
What about what has the impact been? Malcolm Brogdon coming in and helping out this team. How has he been as a Boston Celtic throughout the first, I guess, quarter of the season?
Yeah, so Brogdon, I think that's even more important as far as the front court situation because you see how the Celtics have been for years now, going back to even Stevens as head coach. where it was more so based on they had these good defensive teams, but you always had that smaller point guard. You had that IT. You had, I mean, Kyrie's not small, but let's face it, he's defense. Yeah. Put him in a spin cycle any day. The Kemba as well. Kemba, smaller guard they had. So it's when you go to smaller point guards, yeah, it can be a great defensive team, but you're going to be able to get picked on. And also as far as offensively, where you can get trapped. That happened a lot back in the day with IT. You saw it as well with Kemba. A little bit less than Kyrie because Kyrie would, he had the handles to get out of it. He would just throw a terrible shot afterwards and just sabotage the team. So, that was kind of difficult for them, where I think that's why they went out of their way to go get Brogdon, where there's been health concerns with Brogdon. Last year, I liked the Derek White trade, but I didn't like having to give up Josh Richardson and the first and guys like Romeo Langford. It's like Langford in the first or Langford, Josh Richardson, but giving up all those kind of was a little tough for me because I think they could have used Richardson's scoring last year in the playoffs. But now you see their backcourt. You got Smart, you got White, you got Brogdon. So all those guys are there, and then you got Pritchard. So when one of those guys isn't around, Brogdon missed a game or two recently, even Smart a couple weeks ago. And Pritchard, he's a small guy now, but he's not your starting point guard. He's your fourth point guard, realistically. So I think they looked at it and said, what do we need more? If we lose a big guy, we can kind of patch it up. If we have a small point guard, or if one of our bigger guards goes down with an injury, that's tough to replace during the playoffs and things like that down the stretch. So now with Smart, Brogdon, and White, where you lose one of those guys, you still have two bigger overall, two-way guards who can play, and then you have Pritchard coming off the bench, just kind of being that, more offensively minded guard. So I've been pleased to see how they started off this year.
How could you not be? They're one of the deepest teams in the league. And my final question about the season, we're going to move on to my team. My final question about the season, whose team is this? Is it Jason Tatum's team or is it Jaylen Brown's team? Who's the better player?
I've always been a big Jaylen supporter. Still am, even though he's kind of done some weird stuff recently. But then again, I think just overall, they're both two of the best guys in the league. So that's a tough thing. It's like, if I'm saying Tatum, which I think Tatum right now is the MVP frontrunner. No surprise there. But again, Jaylen, I think last year people looked at Jaylen Brown as a top 20, 25 player in the league, and I saw him personally even higher, that 15 to 20 region. And now Jaylen Brown's like, all right, I need to be all pro. And I think he also knows that because this is the year he needs to reach, one of those all NBA teams to be eligible for like that Supermax extension. So that seems to be kind of driving him, regardless of how his feelings are about situations with the team, things like that. He needs to ball out so he can get that money. So, hey, it's one of those things where it's mutually beneficial. If you want to go somewhere else in the long run, but you also want to make that money right now, go off, do your thing. We'll take it. But overall, I think that Tatum, though, is still – Tatum's defense is finally getting the recognition it deserves this season. Let's put it that way. Where before people looked at his, they kind of looked at Jaylen as a better defensive player, but offensively couldn't compete with Tatum. His offense is great, not quite Tatum's level, but you see that Tatum's defense is right there at Jaylen's, maybe even better as far as being on and off ball. So I love to keep them both as long as they can, but I don't think you don't let go of Jason Tatum. He's the face of the NBA going forward. It's not Giannis, it's not Luka, it's son of the USA, baby. Jason Tatum. We're flipping the narrative. It's been too long since an American-born player has won MVP. So now I think it's going to work in favor with him, man. I'm telling you, the narrative is going to flip, and they're going to say, okay, it's always James Harden. They've said before it's narrative-based award. I think that as long as the Celtics keep winning, Jason Tatum, it's going to be one of those things that I went into the season thinking it's going to be Luka, but I just think that Tatum right now, Celtics, the way they're playing, it's kind of undeniable, and it sets the narrative for Tatum being the future face of the league. LeBron's on his way out, so you need a new face of the league. Who do you want to be? You want
My
to be
only rebuttal to the MVP argument is Jaylen Brown's so freaking good. So it's hard to say that Tatum is the MVP as opposed to like a Luka Doncic or a John Morant when their running mates are just not as good as Jaylen Brown. That's the only rebuttal. But you can absolutely make a case for Tatum.
And even the fact that Jalen played better than Tatum in the finals last year and things like that, were kind of always been a more like Jalen has a dog in him kind of guy, but the skill is just undeniable with Tatum. So I think you see they both done before this season where one will be out and the other will play. The team still wins. No big deal.
Right.
They're going to go off for, they'll average 25 to 30 together each game. But when the other one's not playing, it's like, all right, it's a guaranteed 30 plus, 30 to 40 points to the other one.
Celtics are 20-5. Let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets, 13-12. They are playing the Hornets right now. They are up 84-67 with 6 minutes and 20 seconds left in the third. This Nets team got off to a terrible start. I've mentioned it on the podcast numerous times. They've been playing a little bit better as of late. They've been gelling a little bit more as a team. Their only real loss in the last 5 games was against the Boston Celtics. They were on a 4-game win streak before then. If they win tonight, that'll be 5 of the last 6. Yeah, I mean, look, we're not going to talk about Kyrie and everything there. He's been having a decent season. I don't think that he can be the second best player on your team to win a championship unless the rest of your team is really good. And the Nets are on that path to making to filling out the roster. We saw TJ Warren come back against the Raptors and look, like he can really be helpful in that second unit and provide a scoring punch, guy who can create off the dribble. Guys like Seth Curry have been a little inconsistent, but him and Joe Harris have been picking it up as of late. Curry in the first half of this game was unstoppable. He's already got 15 points on 6 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point range. My point is they're 1 or 2 pieces away. You might need one more wing. There are a lot of bad teams that are moving wings, right? We've heard Cam Reddish's name in trade talks. John Collins as a stretch 4. He's a guy who can play inside and outside. The Wizards have a million wings, and Kyle Kuzma, Denis Ajvada, Porzingis can be a wing. Like, there's so many guys out there that the Nets are going to have a chance to get. And the question is, does Sean Marks want to do that? You need a wing. You need a backup center for Nick Claxton, and if possible, maybe a backup point guard because Patty Mills is just taking up space on the bench right now. But apparently they're going to keep him because he's good friends with Ben Simmons, and they don't want to ruin Ben Simmons' psyche right now, whatever that means. And that's an and one for the Hornets. Anyway, Nets are in a good place. I like the way that they've been playing as of late. Do you foresee anything happening to them that could derail their season?
Derail their season? I mean, is the season fully on the rails yet?
I think it's back on the rails. I think that they've gotten past all the trade stuff. They're 13-12. They're going to win this game and be 14-12. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely sorted out, but as you mentioned, they got some holes in the roster. Again, it's a shame if they could have done something about filling those roles as far as re-signing a Blake Griffin, things like that. I'm trying to think as far as, TJ Warren has been good, as you mentioned. He's even someone who I kind of was interested in coming back. He went off there in a bubble, but was that just the bubble, TJ Warren, or he's had injuries since then, so it's kind of tough to tell. So if you can kind of keep up for the Nets, that should definitely help them out. But I just can't get over the fact that they had so many of these pieces that they need now, and they let go in these other trades where it's like, all right, you lose the Jared Allens, you lose your whatchamacallit,
Levert, your youth.
Karras. Yeah, you lose your Karras. You lose Karras there. It's like, even guys like Dinwiddie who were there, that's a guy you can use now. Instead of
Bruce Brown?
Yeah, Bruce Brown, he got paid the minimum, didn't he? Yeah, I think he got
in Denver. He said that the Nets didn't even want to bring him back. And look at him. He's been playing great with the Nuggets.
He was the most consistent player in the Nets Celtics series last year. Let's put it that way.
He was good. He was good. Boston kid.
He's a local guy. He's
Massachusetts boy.
So why, I'm not surprised that he's, the best, hardest working, most consistent. That's what we're known for in these parts. Being the best.
Massachusetts man. Bruce is not a boy. He's a man.
Yeah, he's a man now. And he's off the fucking Nets.
All right. We're going to move on quickly to the New York Knicks. It just seems like every season, and I don't want to hear about that year they got the 4 seed because that was just an aberration. They they freaking played way beyond their standards. But they're looking to basically trade their vets now. You know, they want to get rid of Reddish. He never really fit with Thibodeau's system. Why? I don't know. I think Reddish is a good player.
Reddish, you saying vets in the first person is Reddish is just wild, but yes.
I know. You're right. And then Derrick Rose, they're like, yeah, he's pretty much done in New York. How does this team just stay? It's almost like Leon Rose. Someone bet him, hey, could you just keep this team like with head above water every single year? And they're just so mediocre. It's amazing to me. I feel terrible for. I mean, I don't feel bad for Knicks fans, but isn't it crazy? How are they this mediocre every year?
Because they're in the Knicks. Not quite the Nets, but they're still New York basketball, which hasn't, professionally, I'll say that professionally, it's not been anything in decades. So, also Tibbs, you gotta get to. I love Tibbs. Tibbs is not the right head coach for that team. I don't know if there is a right head coach for that team. So you got Tibbs there. The Fournier,
another guy on the trade market.
They fucking waxed us, man. They got, well, I can't believe this. He stole Fournier and Kemba from the Celtics.
I'm gonna give you an analogy, by the way. I'm gonna give you an analogy for Thibodeau as a coach. He's the kind of guy, when he does a puzzle, he tries to fit one piece into a piece that just doesn't fit, and he's gonna he's gonna try it 20 times before someone's like, yo, that doesn't go there. He's gonna be like, yeah, fuck you, it goes there. Or
no, he's just gonna try to use the same piece over and over and over again until that piece is fucking snapped in half. That's more so Tibbs' moniker. The only person Tibbs has ever gotten along with in his career, I think outside of Boston, has been Jimmy Butler. And he's not getting the Heat job any day soon. And also, he coached Jimmy Butler again. Jimmy Butler's like, I love you, Tibbs, but these other guys aren't built like us, and he ended up taking off. So it's kind of a weird thing, the Tibbs, the Jimmy Butler to Mark Wahlberg triangle right there is just kind of, I don't know, man.
I knew you were going to bring him up.
It's a little worrisome.
I couldn't have had you on Boston Cliff if you weren't going to bring up my guy Wahlberg. And then finally,
do you think Wahlberg gets involved in the group to start the Vegas team? And he insists that Jimmy Butler must be the face of the franchise and that Tibbs is the head coach.
That'd be very funny. I would like that storyline. We got to get to the 76ers real quick, the team in Philly. They're 500. That's Philly Brandon's team. They're treading water. They lost in double overtime to the Rockets the other day. I think it's more of a matter of they just got to get healthy. I think they're a top 3 team when healthy. Maxi's been out for a few games. Harden is just getting back into it. But Embiid isn't the same dude he was last year. They don't have the same supporting cast. Do you think that they're still a top 3 team in the East when healthy, or are they someone that we can just say they're going to lose in the first or second round and be done with them?
When healthy, still a threat. Let's put it this way. When healthy and possibly without Doc Rivers, they're more a threat. Doc, he's, hey, did some good things out here for Celtics, but I think the record has shown that just Doc, he might have lost his fastball if he ever really had the fastball. He's more of the rah-rah coach, but he's not more so young guys and strategy coach. So I think they have a ceiling there too. Besides the Harden health ceiling, the Embiid health ceiling, I think they also have the Doc Rivers. Is this guy going to blow a 3-1 lead ceiling? So if they can get rid of Doc Rivers, go for someone else. I'm trying to think, who is I should know this, but what staff is Sam Cassell on right now?
I think he's on the Sixers now.
Is he still on? I thought he was brought along with Doc, but I couldn't remember if he was still in LA with Tyronn Lue. But
that's a good question. Let me tell you, Sam Cassell, Dan Burke, Brian Adams, Eric Hughes are all assistant coaches.
Yeah, because Sam Cassell is a guy who even when the Celtics had the whole looking for a new coach, the Udoka situation came up, I was big on Sam Cassell, Udoka, which run the tape back. Fireside Nets, one of the first probably 5 or 10 episodes. I was big on Ime Udoka's the Nets new hire assistant.
This is a different podcast, by the way. This is 2 hours, no traffic. Fireside Nets is my Nets podcast. Shout out to Fireside Nets, brought to you by Empire Sports Media.
Yeah, I was trying to do cross promotion, asshole.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, anyways, but as far as Sam Cassell, it's like a Sam Cassell kind of like guy who's a little bit more in touch with the younger generation. Like they're not too far off as far as age wise, but I think Sam Cassell, he needs a shot as a head coach in the NBA, and I think that the Sixers don't need Doc Rivers as their head coach. So if you kind of bring in and bring Sam Cassell, I think he'd be great for a guy like Maxey. He already has, I think, probably been very beneficial for Maxey. I love Tyrese Maxey's game. I wish he was not in Philly. It's terrible. But I think Philly's they're dangerous, but they definitely need to make a move, move towards the deadline, whether it be seeing who's available, trying to get it, send a first round pick somewhere, try to kind of get some extra depth there. Again, depth as far as the coaching staff with getting rid of Doc Rivers and bringing Sam Cassell to be a head coach. And I think they're a more legit threat with that.
Yeah, no, look, you saw it last year with the Celtics when it wasn't the Celtics because you guys had Ime Udoka the whole year last year. But you see it in sports a lot of times when a team is struggling, when they have the talent but they're not executing. Sometimes a change in leadership helps. Look, the Nets did it this year with Nash. They got off to a terrible start, fired Nash. Vaughn came in, energy totally changed. I think if you still had Nash at the helm, Nets might be in a much worse place than they are now. So I like that mindset, and I think the Sixers fan base is pretty much done with Doc Rivers at this point. The only issue I foresee is Morey and Rivers are pretty close. I think Morey took this general manager job with the mindset that Rivers was going to be the head coach, but look, this is the NBA. It's a business. You can't, just because you like a guy and he's not performing at his job doesn't mean you keep him. The other thing I want to say about the Sixers is
if James Harden asked Daryl Morey to get rid of Doc Rivers,
yeah, he'd be gone. He'd be gone in a second. He'd be gone in a second.
I've never seen any videos of Daryl Morey greeting Doc Rivers off of a plane and hugging him like his son's returned from war. I've not seen that. So I think that if Jimmy H, puts in the word, the X-nay, I think that good old Glenn is out the position.
And I got to tell Sixers fans this, and if Philly Brandon Ron, I'd tell him right to his face. This is not Houston James Harden. This isn't even Brooklyn Nets James Harden from before the injury. This is a totally different James Harden he's just not that guy. I saw TikTok, and social media tries so hard to make him that guy still. I saw a TikTok the other day, James Harden step back 3, first game back from injury. Then I looked at the stats. He was 4 of 19. He hit 4 shots. And TikTok showed me the one shot he hit.
How many points do you have? How many points did he finish with? If you get the line like 7 or 8 times, then he still finishes with about 20 points. That's always been his game. So he's definitely not the same Houston James Harden.
21 points, 9 of 10 from the field, 4 of 19 from the field. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line.
Exactly. So that's part of that's always been part of his game. Where now instead of he has 21 points, instead of having fucking 31, 41.
Right.
So I'm not surprised. But again, he's getting older. Would you rather have Harden putting up that stat line or Russ putting up his stat lines? Like that kind of situation where, he's still not the same guy, but he's also not in the same teams where he went from having first other guard a Chris Paul to a Tyrese Maxey, those kind of situations. Went from Russ to Chris to Tyrese, younger guy who's probably I like better than both those guys. Historically, time will tell. But as far as where they were in their careers and as far as looking at themselves being like, I'm that guy, I'm that dude, and wanting a little bit too much, I think it's a good fit with him and Maxey. But at the same time, I don't really see them getting too much more of him. He'll pop up every once in a while. He'll give you 25 to 30 point game mixed in with 12 assists and 8 rebounds. So he'll give you those games every once in a while, but it doesn't make any difference if it's during a regular season instead of doing it in the playoffs against actual real competition. So I'm personally rooting for Jimmy Harden, especially. Well, I am because I hate the Nets.
Are you going to root for him against the Celtics?
No, I'm not. But I'm going to root for him to be better than Ben Simmons has been for the Nets.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Ben Simmons is a legend. He's going to be really good when he comes back from his third injury this year. Seth Curry for 3, missed it. Nets are up 9 at the end of the third quarter.
What do you
Great.
think?
They need to blow this team out. What's up?
What do you think happened sooner? Ben Simmons returning or Avatar 3 coming out?
He's coming back on Friday. He already said it. So fake news about the Avatar 3 before Ben Simmons. He's coming back on Friday. He said it to the Nets media. All right.
He's also supposed to play that last game against the Celtics and come back during that. But
we're good. We're good on Ben Simmons. They ran up his minutes. He was playing too many back-to-backs. He's coming back from a serious back injury. Leave him alone. All right. Stop being a bully. We talked about this. All right. We ran a little long.
Stop being bullies.
We ran a little long with the podcast, but I want to do a quick rapid fire of the NFL. I'm going to say a headline, and you just give me your reaction. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. The New York Giants stink again.
Nothing new there.
Eagles are the best team in football. They beat up on the Titans. A.J. Brown has his revenge game. Is there any team that is remotely close to the Eagles in terms of being a threat in the NFC?
NFC, probably not. But then again, the Eagles really aren't a threat unless they randomly are playing the Patriots and Belichick decides to bench Malcolm Butler as best quarterback in the most important game of the season. So that's the only time the Eagles are a threat. So I don't hate the Eagles, but I don't like the Eagles.
Jets lose and Mike White doesn't look as good anymore. Are they a good football team or a bad football team?
They're average. Those Mike White shirts gave me big Texans varsity jackets against the Patriots vibes. So I was very much riding with the Vikings last week, and I was happy to do so, even though they almost ended up blowing it. I just think the Jets, I think the whole league is down this year. The AFC is down, especially too. I mean, actually, NFC sucks even more probably. So the whole league kind of sucks right now, and I think they're kind of benefiting from having a couple of lucky wins in situations.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then finally, you're a Boston guy, Boston Cliff. Talk to me about the Pats. Is Mac Jones that guy, or is he a guy?
He's it's a little joke up here sometimes. He's Jack Jones. He's just another guy. Just another guy. Jack Jones.
So that means he's not that guy.
He's just I don't believe so. I'll give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt where he hasn't had the best tools around him and the best play calling. But when you see, the Zap Man come out there and tear it up with the same tools, same play calling, a little bit different play calling, but same play callers, it makes me a little suspicious of it. I was never big on. I felt like they felt forced to draft him just because of the position they were in. Last quarterback draft, the first round that year, but just I don't think he's that dude. I think he's that Kirk Cousins. I think hopefully he's Kirk Cousins. He's a lot of people compare him to Chad Pennington. Modern day Chad Pennington.
It's a weird comparison. I don't think he's good. I think
it's an accurate comparison. He isn't the best arm. He's pretty accurate, but he's not the best. He's not the worst, but he should be that upper half of quarterbacks. It's like you're really gonna want Chad Pennington for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Look, I think it's funny since Tom Brady left. Belichick has had Cam Newton, Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi. Have I missed? And Brian Hoyer, essentially.
Yes.
So he hasn't had that guy since Brady. Now, he hasn't even had a guy because I don't even consider Mac Jones a guy. He's just there. Yeah. I mean, you guys have some decent pieces. Your run game is nice. Your defense is nice. You have some receivers that might have promise. Ja'Cory Myers looks like he can be a receiver in this league for a while. Ja'Cory Myers, right? Is it Jacoby?
Yeah, it's Jacoby.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said Ja'Cory 2 times.
No, I said Jacoby. I said with a B. That's what I said. You gotta get your hearing checked. Anyway,
you said Ja'Cory twice.
Pats are not that team. This is not their year. Did you hear LaShawn McCoy's interview with Kay Adams the other day when he talked about Belichick?
Yeah.
He said he's just any other coach, basically. He's like, yeah, he's like a Mike Tomlin. He's like, whatever. He said without Brady, Belichick's not that guy.
There might be a little bit of validity to that, but at the same time, he also compared him Rex Ryan and Marvin Lewis.
I heard that too.
I think that's a little extreme, but I do it's another big thing around here where who is more responsible. Clearly, it's Brady is more responsible. Belichick helped make Brady what he was, but not to the point where it's more worth it than keeping Brady. So, yeah, they screwed the pooch in that one. Let's put that one.
All right. That does it for this week's episode of 2 Hours No Traffic, brought to you by Sideline Sports.
You think that,
Brandon?
hey, real quick, do you think that Brady will go to the Giants? I mean, a lot of people think he's going to leave the Bucs right now. They think this is the last thing of the Bucs, and Daniel Jones, they don't have him locked up next year. You think Brady goes to the Giants out of spite because Belichick loves the Giants so much?
No, I don't. I don't think he goes to the Giants, but that'd be nice. A kid can dream. We've always wanted him or Rodgers. They're not coming to the Giants. All right, that does it. Can I close out the podcast?
No, I'm going to keep this going for another hour. I think you should be beating the drum for that so you can get ahead of the curb.
I'll beat the drum for Tom Brady to the Giants. I would love him over Daniel Jones. All right, I did the closing. Thanks for listening. Boston Cliff, thank you for coming on. Philly Brandon should be back next week. We always love to have you. Any final words for the listeners?
Good night, Irene.